People need to understand this. The Communist Party, the Communist movement wants miserable workers. They don't want prosperous workers. They do not want that, because the more misery there is, the more revolutionary they figure the workers will be. They don't want fat, happy, rich, contented workers on good salaries and benefits. That's anathema.
When communist parties take power, historically, do they just dance happy with the unions and the union leaders and the leftists, and they're all the popular front less? I mean, what happened to Emma Goldman and the Mensheviks? Why don't you tell us about that? Were there no strikes?
Look, when the communists take power, look, unions to the communists, unions are the transmission belt of communism. So when they have control of the unions, they use them to spread communist messaging, promote communist programs. When they're actually in power, the unions are the means of implementing labor discipline on the workforce. No strikes, it's every worker must make sacrifices for the cause. Their wages will go down, their benefits will go down to nothing, and they're used to basically they're used as a tool of implementation of communism. I'd like to tell a quick story, if I may.
Please.
That illustrates the point. When my friend was training in Moscow, John van der Ven, one of they did 3.5 months of intensive training, but they got a couple of little trips, like to the Bolshoi Ballet, and they also went to the Moskvich car factory in Moscow, which was built by Fiat to produce Italian Lada cars, which are basically copies of Fiat 125s. And it was a state-of-the-art factory, most beautiful factory you've ever seen, mechanized robots, because in the Soviet Union, robots help workers. They don't take the jobs from workers, you see. That's different in the Soviet Union. In the capitalist countries, they're bad, but they're good there. Anyway, they were told they couldn't visit the toilets while they were there. And this seemed very strange. But my friend, he had felt the call of nature. He had to go, and he was a bit of a rebel, and he snuck away from the tour party and found a toilet. Well, what he thought was a toilet. And he opened the door, and all he saw was this massive concrete floor. No cubicles in there at all. A massive concrete floor with little pipes sticking out of the concrete floor and a hose. So you squatted over the pipe, you did your job, you did what you had to do, and you washed it down with the hose. And it was filthy. It was disgusting. And he couldn't go. He went back to the tour guide, said, "What?" He said, "I've just been to the toilets. Where is the dignity of the Soviet worker? I was disgusted." And this is what the tour guide said, "John," he said, "John, you got to understand, we can't trust the worker. If we had cubicles in those toilets, the workers might go and smoke a cigarette while they're meant to be working. They might read a newspaper while they were supposed to be working. They might even commit a homosexual act while they're supposed to be working. We can't trust the worker." So John went back to New Zealand and he confronted Ken Douglas, the leader of the New Zealand trade union movement and the leader of the Socialist Unity Party. He knew him very well. Ken Douglas had personally recruited him into the party. He said, "Ken, I saw this. He told him what he'd seen in Moscow on the floor, and this beautiful factory with this disgusting restroom." And he said, "What? I couldn't understand it. How is this possible in the land of the workers?" And Ken Douglas says, "Don't you understand, John? You've been a communist for a while now. Don't you understand?" He says, "No, what do you mean?" He said, "This is the leader of the New Zealand trade union movement said, John, when we get power in New Zealand, we're going to treat these bastard workers exactly the same way."